Hello and welcome to episode 129 of the Cutie Art Crusaders for Tuesday, December 30th, 2014. Wow, this is weird. My name is Flutterguy317. I am the media manager for the podcast, and today I'm joined by...
Burndle One. I'm the special guest coordinator of the podcast, and this week I'm be the editor.
And I'm Matt Mosbark. I'm the guy that does the questions and the DeviantArt and the Gmail and stuff.
Yay!
I think we're all just incredibly tired, apart from you, Flutterguy.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm weirdly awake right now. But we may be missing a certain Canadian.
No, wait,
Yeah.
I'm not here, eh? See?
I never laugh, and for some reason I sound like a little British boy.
I mean, Canada's still technically a province of the...
French.
No.
Yeah, insert our normal Canadian jokes here.
Yeah.
This is how this goes.
Oh.
I don't remember where he is, so we make up something stupid about Canada, and that's where Max is. You know what? No, forget that. Today we're just gonna pretend like he's here. He's sitting
He's
over
on
there.
a boot somewhere.
It's quiet time.
He's on a boot somewhere. He's wearing boots.
No, he's right over there. Don't worry
Sorry,
about it.
pals.
Moving on. So last week was Christmas. Merry Christmas to everyone who celebrates it.
Merry Christmas and holidays before that.
Yeah. I hope you all had a very happy holidays, etc., etc. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
what
then
you said.
it's New Year's in 2 days from when this
Now.
is coming out. So, yeah. So happy New Year's, everyone. Yay.
Hooray!
If I had some champagne, I would pop it, but I don't, unfortunately.
Hang on.
Yay!
There we
Thanks.
Look at that.
So, funny story involving champagne. I went on vacation with my parents and with another family to Hawaii several years ago, and my parents would tell the hotel that it was their anniversary, so they would get like a free bottle of champagne or wine or whatever with the hotel room, which it technically was their anniversary, but basically every single bottle of champagne that my dad pulled the cork off of, the cork ended up hitting the dad of the other family like every single time, and he wasn't even trying for it. Like
Sure.
he was aiming out of our balcony, and it hit one of the tiny posts on the railing, and it bounced back and hit the guy in the head.
It's funny.
So be careful. Practice champagne safety. this New
Champagne
Year's.
is dangerous.
Yeah.
Champagne.
I've never hurt someone with champagne, but I tried to open a bottle camping once, and it scared me really bad because I didn't know it actually explodes. I was like, I'm just gonna pull this off, and it just, shot out of my hand.
And it just went everywhere.
I put a hole in a wall once.
I probably screamed a little higher pitch. Than I should have. Mistakes were made.
Joel, you put a hole in the wall with a champagne cork?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you showed the wall who's boss, right? Yeah.
You what, mate?
Hey, you want to go, wall?
I'll champagne you right in the gabba, mate.
You have me a giggle.
He's having a laugh. Terrible accents. Okay.
Well, that was Max right there. That was Max.
Max, why you gotta be so insensitive to the British accents? I mean, come
Right.
on. Jeez.
Gosh.
Good to go.
So we got a card sent to us from
We did.
Son and Blitz.
We did.
Sonnenblitz.
He sent us this Happy Holidays card with some candy canes and a big fiery heart in the middle, and it's adorable. Thank you.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. Send that to an email.
Yay.
Thanks for the card.
And then I guess we have one last thing on our talking points list, and that is that Joel, you somehow cut yourself this
Yeah,
this
pretty bad.
holiday season. You want to go into that a little bit?
No, it's embarrassing.
No, come on. The people want to know.
People have
Alright.
to know
And by
how
the
you
people
cut your hand, or they're just gonna make up crazy stories.
By the people, I mean, I want to know.
Hey, you want to know? All right. Well, I'll get my eyes rolled at. I'll get eyes rolled at me for this, but I was trying to close the dishwasher, and then as I did that, I reached down, and the tip of a steak knife went into my finger, and I had to go get stitches.
Ouch.
Ouch.
Yeah.
So you got what, 2 stitches
Yeah.
for Christmas?
Yeah. I get them out in 2 days, so I'm happy.
Would you send us on WhatsApp? You were like, Merry Stitchmas.
Yeah.
I appreciated the punniness of that.
Nobody else did.
Aw.
I, Maxwell Goth, appreciated it too.
Goth?
Did you call him Goth? Maxwell Goth?
Maxwell Goth, yes.
Well,
We can call him Maxwell Gothling.
Gothling?
I don't know.
Is his name actually
Just ignore
Maxwell?
me. No,
I don't
think so.
I don't even know.
Or is it
I'm pretty sure it's
Maximilian?
Maximilian. Yeah, there you go.
Yay.
Same wavelength. All right. We said that at the exact same time. There's just a slight delay because Australia, but we were there.
Yeah. See, this is bad. We've been doing this for, 2.5 years now, and we don't even know if his full name is Maxwell or Maximilian.
Wasn't it Ron Billius?
Isn't it like... Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we could do a Rombilius thing.
Rombilius Maxington, the goatiest. I got nothing. I'm so tired.
What are you talking about? I've been here all the time. All time.
There it is.
Huff, 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 huff. Rombilius. He's here in spirit. Okay,
spirit.
so we decided to throw together a little bit of a theme this week, partially because we chose pieces that kind of related to a theme, and also because we got sent in some lovely Christmassy art last week and just didn't get a chance to feature it. So we're going to do a wintry theme today, and we're going to start with Burned.
Hooray! So the piece that I'm actually featuring was sent in to us to our email by Ramaslak, if I remember correctly, as a recommendation for the Christmas episode. But it didn't quite make it in, but I really liked it, and I'd actually never seen this artist before, and the reason I'd never seen this artist before is it actually turns out this is a new Deviant artist. This artist, she has only been on DeviantArt for 3 whole weeks.
Wow.
My goodness. She's from Russia, but the piece that I'm featuring is by, how do you say that? Satnia Paper?
Yeah.
Satnia Paper? I think that's
Yeah,
right.
something like that.
And it's called Christmas Night.
Salt and pepper.
And it's a traditional, like, acrylic, I want to say? Acrylic painting on paper?
It looks like it, yeah.
I don't think it's on canvas. I think it's on paper.
Maybe. It's definitely on paper.
You can see the edges of the paper on the scan. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so acrylic paint on paper.
I was gonna say it might be on panel, but no, that's definitely paper.
It's probably a thick type of paint paper. Whatever it is, it's paper. It can go in a scanner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is really, really well done, and I'm surprised that she hasn't really come into the art scene on DeviantArt for, before 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, I like how there's texture to it. Like if you look down in the snow and on the road, there's this jagged paint that's, I'm guessing, is sticking up from the paper and is kind of hardened. Kind of gives it a nice texture to the
it's
piece.
rough.
Yeah.
That's what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's control too between that roughness and then non. So there's difference in the texture. So it's really kind of messy and rough at the bottom, especially in the trees where it's all goopy and quickly I don't know, splotched on there. Not splotched, but swiped. You can see it in the edge of the trees where it kind of lifts off. They all kind of go the same directions if you look at the edge of the trees, which is a nice touch because it makes it look like you can kind of see through leaves, or it tricks your mind and you can see through the trees kind of. And then the texture in the background is actually smooth. It's liquidy. That roughness from the bottom is gone. So there's that transition and what type of texture it is making up the picture, you know? So we see that, and then our brain is oh, this is different, and then thinks of it as something else. The reason why I keep saying tricks in our brain or whatever, I should probably explain that, is that this piece is really, really messy. It's really sketchy. So all the paint, it's not super neat. In fact, the neatest area is actually the little ponies placed in. And the artist, or this artist, actually drew multiple paint sketches like this with acrylic on, or maybe it could even be watercolor too, I don't know, some type of medium on paper, and a bunch of these sketches, and this one just so happened to have ponies in it, and it turns out, I believe, it was a gift for her friend as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've said this before in previous episodes, but a lot of art is really just tricking the brain into thinking that something's there that's not. So like all of the trees and stuff, it's literally just brushstrokes that are pointing upwards and like very controlled, like you said, but there's not really something that very detailed represents a tree there. But our mind interprets it as a tree just because, you know, we see kind of out of the corner of our eye this thing that looks similar to a tree, and it says, oh, hey, that must be a tree.
I mean, it's just a bunch of random splotches of color, you know, like they're the only things that are like trick our mind into telling us that it's a tree are like the branches and trunks, and there's just like hints of them on like the left and right side, and then there's none as it starts to go back. It actually looks like she scraped away the paint on some of the trees in the background. But then you have like the lamps as well in kind of the foreground, midground area that, and like what looks like a trail. So there's all these things where we see it and we're like, oh, you know, this looks like a nice pathway through, you know, like a park or something. And we see the white and the colors, and the color, I really like the colors too, because they're so like muted and dull and almost like dreary, you know, and how like all the colors that are used, it's like this dull violet, brown, red, and there's tons of colors in there. In fact, what some people might not realize when they see a piece like this, they're like, oh, it's so gray. It's actually not gray. It's actually full of tons of colors. There's reds, there's violets, there's blues, I see greens. It's all just even oranges. And it's all like, it's all muted. It's all just very dull on the like, what is it, lightness? Well, I guess hue,
saturation.
It's like gamma
brightness.
or something is like the term for your monitor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a fancy art term, I can't remember, but on your monitor it's called gamma. Whatever. How much color is there and used in that pigment, you know?
Saturation.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It's similar.
Yeah. Point being, it's different, and it's really catching, because when an artist uses the very dull like colors like this in a very dull setting, when normal colors or normal hues that normally wouldn't be very like interactive with our eyes are used on a piece like this, they instantly pop and do actually like not extraordinary things, but I guess they can do extraordinary things. They do extremely different things than they normally would in like your use normal a bunch, but in like your casual art piece or whatever. So like you can see like the red scarf or like the little red holly in the stallion's hair, like those like they're not super radical shades of red, but they really stand out because everything around it's muted. Does that make sense? And like the touches of orange in the lamp, and then like freckles of, actually looks like she's like splattered paint onto the top of it to like add this kind of like color difference on top of like the trees and stuff to add more texture layers, which is really cool. Also, which is really fun. I don't know if you guys have ever tried that, like when you're making paint or something, just like just like flicking paint at it, you know?
Yeah. I've seen some spray paint artists do something similar, like to get a starry night sky. It's interesting, like the different techniques to do that. I like what you said about the whole dreariness of it, because if there weren't these oranges and violets and stuff that were kind of overlapped into this piece, it would be a very dreary, dark, dull kind of piece. But because there's these oranges, like if you look into the trees on the left side, there's like this big swath of orange that kind of gives it a much warmer feeling. So it is still like a dreary, dark piece, but
It's warm.
It's warm, and the setting kind of makes it warm, and the colors make it warm. So it's I look at this and I get happy because it's a very warm piece, not really dreary.
And there's things in it that we see that like make it warm too, like the characters, like they're sharing a warm moment too. So like if you cover up a lot of the orange in the characters, it starts to look a little bit more dreary, but once you like see the whole scene, it does exactly as you mentioned. It feels, warmer, and it doesn't feel like icky or like super dreary. It just kind of has that toned down color. But that's why this is a really cool piece, and that's why I really liked this, because it kind of does the opposite of what you would think that color palette would do, but the artist has used it in such a way where it's very pretty. Like, it is a very beautiful piece to use these colors together that normally wouldn't create something beautiful. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Something else that's interesting to me is how this artist used brush strokes to kind of separate the trees and the sky. Because value-wise, especially in the foreground, they're pretty much the same. And even hue-wise, there's also some similarities between the top of the trees and the sky. But the directionality of the brushes is kind of what sets it apart. At least at the very border between the two. So it's kind of interesting.
I just noticed something really cool with the sky too. I was mentioning that it's a different texture because it's like thinner, liquidier. And in fact, it looks like there's kind of a solid tone of like mid-tone paint that was kind of used to make like the whole sky. That was maybe like a dull like orange or red or something. But it's like a neutral color. I've mentioned this before, that when you mix two, like you can't get this like... Well, let me restart. So the colors that are used in this, you can't get them by using gray, like white and black. You have to get them by mixing two complements of colors. So what I'm assuming is probably blue and like a very dull red or brown. And then when you mix them together, they give you this kind of very cool gray, but it has like a tone and color to the gray. And so it's like a gray color, but it still has like a warmth to it that you can see here. So like in art class in color theory and painting, we would never use straight up ivory black like paint pigment. We would always have to make our own gray with like a blue and orange or like a red and green, which is another way to get like a kind of a warm gray. And if you use more blue, it gets cooler, blah, blah. But anywho, what I was trying to say, why the sky is cool is it looks like she painted like a red, yellow, green, and purple rainbow in the background in the sky, and then put like a liquidy wash over it in that kind of dull gray. That makes sense? Which kind of creates this effect that we can kind of like see through it, and yet there's still like this crazy hue going. So it's like there's like background colors to the background and then painted over them to make the scene.
Yeah.
And then one final touch I just noticed in the very sky in the top left there, it looks like the artist actually smudged away the paint. And I mean, that looks intentional. I don't think it's a mistake. And like, if it was a mistake, she intentionally left it there. Where you see what I'm saying? That little blue like smudge, and it goes like off of the canvas or off the paper. There's actually some artists where they like to, this is another off-track thought, but there's some artists that like to mark their paintings like with themselves, like with their hand. Like Justin Pollock used to like grind cigarettes into his paintings and junk. And then there was an artist who was at the gallery, who was in the gallery at my college, and she had this huge painting. It was like 6 feet tall, and there was this one tiny little place where she had a little paintbrush, and then like sitting, and then on her paintbrush she had her thumbprint right there on the paintbrush. And what it looked like, since she pushed her thumbprint into the wet paint, it pushed a little bit of the brown on the paintbrush away, and it made it look like there's color underneath, and it made it look like there was like a thumbprint in paint on the paintbrush. But it was like her way of leaving her mark. Anyway, kind of cool.
Cool. Yeah. It is interesting that you mentioned that whole like wash over it, because you can see through where she rubbed the paint away that there's some bluish hues there, and it definitely looks like that's what she did, where she put the hues down, the colors down, and then just put over like a wash over it. Would be interesting to know if that's actually what she did.
There's so many fun like little tricks and things used in this painting that it makes it really fun for something where the colors seem so dull at first glance. Like all the splattering of paint, the super messy trees, and then the colors, and I don't know, the stuff. And as horses, it's perfect. It's fantastic.
Yeah. No, it's really fantastic. You guys should go check it out.
We haven't even mentioned the character's really super cute. Like little pigtail pony, and it's adorable.
Yeah.
And the dude with the holly, like, where's the holly in your hair? It's cute. Is it like, oh, look, it's the mistletoe? I don't know.
Because they walk into a forest.
Yeah. And everyone knows that holly keeps the forest monsters away.
No, it got stuck in a tree.
Oh, so it's stuck to him.
Yeah, it's romantic.
All right. I'm done with all the rambling and stuff.
Yeah. So fantastic piece. Love it.
Yeah, I believe also, we mentioned artist Russian. I hope she'd watch this and you can understand it. We love your art. It's great. Keep doing it. Keep it up. keep at the DeviantArt and stuff, and we love you. You're great.
Yeah, go check out her other stuff too, because it's also awesome. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next piece, which was chosen by Ronbilius Plasmington III.
No, it was chosen by me, Rombulius Plasmington. I've been here the whole time. I actually wasn't in Canada land. Let's see. Hold on, I actually clicked off of this. I clicked off of the piece. So the piece I chose for this week was actually a piece by Ardale, who sent it in. Screw that. So the piece that we chose for Rambulis Plismonton, because he's not here, is actually a piece we wanted to squeeze in by Ardale, because he sent it in he wanted to send it in for the Christmas episode, but he didn't make it in time because he got the deadline wrong, because we're bums and gave people 3 days to make junk. So Rainbow Plasmington's piece that is going to be Waiting for You by Ardale, which was a really cute piece, and we were going to give it a quick shout out.
Yeah. This is actually a redraw of one of his earlier pieces from all the way, 2 years ago, December 2012. He drew a Lyra piece.
It's currently hanging on my wall.
Yeah.
Well, before I moved.
Yeah. And so he decided to redo that kind of concept in his newer style, and it looks fantastic. I really love his new style.
You've come a long, long way.
Yeah. I know we talked a little bit about Ardale last week when we showed his other piece, but I like how he's kind of developed this boxier muzzle and has crisper, cleaner lines than he used to. And
he's got much better with the lighting.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's colorized lighting on things. There's not a huge use of whites and blacks that I used to see in his work. And like, I don't know, he's just, everything's developed so much, and like, it's so pretty, and it's Christmassy.
Mm-hmm. I like the his take on the snow on the ground, and there's a little patch that looks like it's being kicked up by the wind.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's some directionality to it.
I like the take on the snow in the sky, like, because like you saw last week with late customers, like snowballs in the background. There's like hailing snowballs, you know. It's just like little white circles. Where in this one, it's like, you know, you kind of like see through them. There's like kind of that specular lighting stuff, you know, the cameras do. So it's like, and this just was snapped to the picture. Those things aren't in focus because they aren't in the focal lens of the camera, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's bokeh blur.
Yeah. Cool stuff.
Which I believe is basically just kind of an imprint of the aperture of the camera. Because the lighting wasn't focused, and and I guess the rounder the more circular it is, the better the camera aperture is. I don't really know.
something amateur apertures. I don't know.
Yeah,
Halo for Illuminati. Doesn't matter.
What?
Anywho.
Yeah, and then the background in this piece is also really well done with the Northern Lights, Aurora Borealis. Yeah. You can see some different colors in there. There's some teals and greens and blues and stuff. So
it kind of matches Lyra. You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of mirrors her hair a bit.
Yeah. So fantastic piece. Sorry we weren't able to include it last week. But glad that you finished it up. He's been doing a lot of these like redos.
Yeah, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he was junk. He was terrible. You're an awful artist, Ardale. No, but he was a novice artist, and he started out. He's like, I'm making art.
Yeah.
And he was like, we met him, and he was like learning, and now he's like, he's learned.
Yeah.
And he was generous then. He's still generous now.
Yeah.
In fact, he just posted a piece of something he's going to give to an auction that looks amazing.
Yeah.
Such cool stuff.
Yeah. And then he posted the Price of Immortality piece that he did at the BronyCon auction with some like crystals embedded in it, and
right? What did that sell for again?
A lot of money.
Yeah, money.
Couple thousand.
Jesus,
just ridiculous, dude. You're awesome, Ardale.
Ardale, we love you.
Give us more art.
Yeah. Okay. Anywho.
Yeah.
Moving forwards.
All right. Okay. So the piece that I chose for this week is called "Distant Lands" by Seathlet. And this is another artist who we haven't actually seen anything from before. and I liked this piece because it incorporates a few elements that I really enjoy in these kind of pieces. First of all, Twilight has kind of it's a mix between painterly and hyper-realisticness going on. There's a lot going on in the background. I don't know. I just generally find the piece appealing overall.
It's
Banana Senpai, I don't find you appealing.
it's different. It's we haven't really featured anything like this in a long time. It's more not hyper realism, but it's not. It looks like a very detailed cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
But still believable. Like it almost looks like a real sort of scene, but drawn in a cartoon way. If you know what I mean.
It kind of reminds me a lot of the Children of the Night.
Yeah.
What those guys did, especially with the lighting and the clouds. I don't know.
It's just like this is a little bit more painterly than that, you know? Like even the Children of the Night, like Spirit and Lion, they kind of kept this like showish, accurate-y, very clean artwork, you know? But this one's still like Joel was saying, has like painterly stuff in it.
Yeah.
Like if you look up at the clouds just above her I guess coat, you can see there's a bit of paint effect where it's all blurry and it fades off. But then you look down, or you look at her, and she's full on in focus, and everything's clean and crisp, and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
even off in the background, it's still clean and crisp, just a bit faded.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's this really cool blending going on too, which like kind of for me separates it a bit from like Spirit's work, yeah. Where like you see how like the clouds, like some of them like aren't drawn or painted, they kind of just like fade off into the sky, but then they have like edges of them kind of painted in, etched in there. There's kind of that theme going on all over the place in this. And it's like if you look at Twilight, like her shading and her cape and stuff is all like shaded and painted, and then you got like this radical purple outline on like the edge of the cape, which is supposed to be like its silhouette from the light behind it, you know?
Radical, dude.
Let's see, it's going on in, let's see, her hair, mane, even a little bit in her wings. And then the snow and the mountains do it too, where there's kind of this like really bright silhouette kind of like painted on there. A very cool touch. But then the trees don't have any of that. They're actually like completely different feeling. It makes them almost like creepy, ominous, because they don't have that bright silhouette. It makes Twilight almost like illuminated, like she's spotlighted.
Yeah.
She's got that bright purple on her edge where the scene she's standing in doesn't. It's very dreary.
It is kind of interesting that so much of this piece is silhouetted, like you were saying with the mountains and with Twilight. And the trees, especially with the way that they kind of lean over her and like kind of frame her, give this very like either ominous or it gives her a very powerful kind of pose stature, like it's, you know, kind of wrapping around her saying she's here, kind of placing her prominently in the piece.
Yeah. Also, just her pose is like, I'm here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of like propped back like that.
It's a very powerful pose.
Yeah. Look at me. I'm Princess Twilight.
Can't tell. It might just be that big old huge like spy collar, like admiral collar from her cute little outfit, but whatever that is. Like army outfit thing. But her neck feels really craned back. Kind of reminds me of a long neck from Land Before Time or something.
Yeah. She's a giraffe.
Little giraffe, yeah.
Yeah.
Still cute though.
Yeah. It is kind of interesting, like the difference, I guess, between this piece and the first piece that we took a look at, because like you were saying, so much of it is in detail, even the stuff in the background, where there's, I mean, it is blurred to give you that kind of focus, depth of focus, effect a little bit, but it is still very much detailed. Like you can see there's a dragon in the background fighting, it looks like another pony, maybe playing with a pony.
There's like a bit of that depth of field, but it's a bit more, I think, on the spectrum of atmospheric perspective. That's a word we like to use again. Where there's atmosphere getting in the way, which is why it kind of looks blurry and a little desaturated, a little lighter.
Yeah. And there's kind of this clear break in the mountains, where the far few mountains are very desaturated, definitely have some atmospheric perspective, atmospheric lighting going on in front of them.
And it shows you that they're out in the distance because there's no detail and there's no color or anything in it.
I think you mentioned this, but it creates a focal point too, to have that really bright point part where all the mountains and everything kind of go down to that little crack and point there. And even the clouds are kind of like pointing over there.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because once again, we kind of have a piece where you have two distinct focal points. You have Twilight and you have that little crevice in the mountains.
I think... no, I was going to disagree, but I could totally see that. Like Twilight's definitely a place where you rest your eye and look, but there's a bunch of things basically framing Twilight. It's another word we like to use, or that create, like, draw your eye towards that bright crevice in the mountain. Like, one being the value that it's bright, and then two being that everything around it is kind of leading you there, leading your eye and your gaze there. So like the trees, the branches, even Twilight's pose with like her cape and hair like blowing in the wind in that direction.
Yeah, and her wing is also pointing. So I'd almost say that she's a secondary focal point to the crevice in the mountains.
Yep. So. But she does create like this central point where like your eye can like rest and look at her, because obviously, you know, it's just big purple thing. Like, we're gonna look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is interesting that like the landscape almost takes a precedence over the character in this kind of piece, especially since like she's there front and, well, not really center, but she's got like this big towering pose, and you know, it's not really all about her. It's all about what's behind her.
The background absolutely does, because I mean, you look at this and straight away you see there's a bright light in the background. I'm going to look out there, and you look at it for another second longer, and you think, wow, it's okay. So it's dark on the left hand side, but there's also a character there. There's a pony right there, but it's really dark, so you can't really see her straight away. You see the big bright light in the background.
Yeah, exactly, and that creates a really cool dynamic, because it makes her like fight for the focus. She's kind of like fighting for the attention. So like the background and that bright value, like you mentioned, is kind of like winning. Like, it's creating that focus, but there's parts of Twilight that make you want to look towards her. Like, obviously, like her being a character and her pose, and then those, like, for me, it's that kind of like radical color of purple on the right hand side there. That like purple silhouette. I just like the colored outlines. I'm a sucker for it.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe that's why she's in that pose. Maybe she's like, I gotta fight this stupid landscape behind me for the focus.
Yeah.
Like,
gotta be so majestic.
Look at
be
me.
More majestic than the mountains.
Yeah.
You've got that tree above her as well, that branch that's bending over and framing her.
Yeah.
But like Vern said,
circle.
While it is framing her, it's also pointing to the mountains. So
those birds flying off in the background help that.
Yeah.
Because that's an important thing too, that you don't want to lead your viewer off of the canvas usually. Like, obviously, if you want to, you can lead their eye off the canvas, but most of the time you want the viewer to keep looking at your art. You don't want them to go look like, oh, look at the horses on the top of my shelf above my monitor. You want your eye to keep traveling inside of the piece and keep looking at your art. So that's what that framing and those branches do, is they draw your eye back in. Because if you follow the trees, that kind of goes up towards the very top in that big old branch, and then it curves back, and then you see, and it leads to the birds, and then the birds go back towards the center. And you see everything else in the little details, like the dragons in the background.
Yeah.
Same thing happens with the down the bottom, those branches with the, I don't know what's flying off them, white specks.
I think it's snow.
Or
I
spores.
think it's supposed to be snow.
Spores.
So they're flying off the branches, and then they're going along the bottom and curving back towards a dragon. And as they do so, they get blurry and they fade out, so you can see that sort of flow back into the background.
Yeah. Also, the snow spores is a very nice touch too, because it's similar to the first piece we featured, where like the kind of speckles of paint like splattered. This is again kind of like a fun like brush over the entire piece, creating kind of, atmosphere is the wrong word. It's creating environment, I guess. You know, it's creating weather. I mean, it looks snowy. It looks kind of stormy and windy. It kind of gives purpose to her, like, kind of blowing in the wind, because there's all this stuff, like, blowing with it, you know? And it kind of has, like, life and movement of its own a bit.
Yeah.
And it looks like those little white specks look like they were drawn, like, with a brush almost.
Yeah.
Like sometimes artists will use, like, a Photoshop brush. That's probably what it is in the top right. But the other little white spots look like the artist was actually, like, like, drawing, like, all, like, on just tablets, like, etching all those things. It took forever.
Yeah. Because there's not really a specific pattern to them.
Yeah,
Almost.
and
It looks
like some of them like go in an L shape and have a little bit of life of their own.
Yeah.
Some are longer, some are shorter.
Yeah. It's interesting because you can see those like all up the left-hand side, although they're definitely faded and blurred out. And then kind of somewhere in the bottom, there's a split where it comes into full, where they're pure white and very much in focus.
It's like lighting, you know, like when like dust goes in and out with like a light ray. So you got that really bright light coming from the background there, like, and then it hits that snow, but the stuff behind the trees is, you know, duller and whatever. That is a nice touch. I wouldn't even notice it if you hadn't said it. Where like there's the white specks and then the gray specks on the left and the bottom there. It's doing the stuff.
Lots of specks. Yeah.
And the flow of the spores flows in the same way that the coat is flowing, which is something that a lot of people sometimes miss.
And also wrapping around, going back towards the dragon as well on the right-hand side.
You know what this piece does also similar like in our first piece? The use of colors. Like it's the very like kind of dull color scheme again, where it look like obviously not the bright mountains and stuff, and then the big bright purple horse.
Yeah.
But the stuff in the trees and then the kind of like icy, dirty stuff on the ground there, it looks kind of like dull gray, but there's so many colors in that. Like there's violets, there's reds, there's blues, there's green spots, there's turquoise, there's all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's all making up those mountains and shades and stuff, and it's fantastic. Way too many paints and colors.
And then if you look at like the sky too, this gradient. So good. Yeah, so
speaking of color, I was wanting to point out that jarring red in Twilight's hair. It stands out so much because it's the only sort of prominent red that you can see.
Yes.
Yeah. Which I guess kind of does lend to her being sort of the secondary focal point almost. But it doesn't stand out like that much. Like it's not super saturated that it points out itself like immediately. It's still kind of dulled out a little bit. But interesting. All right, so Joel, do you want to share your piece with us?
Okay. Where did I put it? All right. My one is by Kazani. It's called SummerSlam Beach Edition.
Yay!
This isn't a winter piece, Joel.
Joel, why is this in here?
It's because it's not winter in my country.
So we were gonna do a winter-themed episode before the show, and then Joel was like, "No, it's summertime. We can't do the winter episode."
Yeah. How's the temperature there?
Actually not bad today. I think it's 25-ish.
How's the sweaty weather? Nice and hot for you?
It's actually raining. It's actually been raining the last 2 days, so it's not too bad. But I think last week was an absolutely killer week.
Yeah.
Was it sweltering?
Yes.
Hey,
And you're out working in the hot sun?
Yes.
Being a sweaty Australian?
Like
Sounds
over
dreamy.
in real units, 40 degrees. Well, up to about 40 degrees.
Real units, my face win. How dare you?
Dude, I speak Celsius. It's okay.
Translate then. It's like 100 and something degrees.
Yeah, it's like 105, 110-ish.
How do you work in that? What? I was like 40.
By not being a little...
Whoa, we might have to cut that.
You can't say that. You what, mate?
Yeah.
All right, let's try that again.
Oh, goodness.
So it's summer down in Australia and in anyone who's in the southern hemisphere. And so we thought we would include you guys and you specifically, Joel. Yay.
Yay.
So this piece I love. We actually interviewed Karzani at BronyCon and this piece was there. And
he was such a nice dude.
Yeah, he was. I like his style. It's very interesting. He uses this very distinct shading style, which is kind of a two-color shading. So you have the light parts and then you have the dark parts. And the dark parts are just a lower value and lower saturation of the light parts. Yeah. And there's not really anything in between.
Yeah, hard shading. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Twilight's face.
Twilight's so grumpy in this.
Yeah, Rarity's just displeased.
Rarity's always displeased, but so is Twilight. Twilight has had it. Twilight's had it with her crap, man. It's like this again.
Yeah. Even Rainbow Dash is a little miffed. It looks like.
No,
I think she's concerned.
Yeah.
She's about to get pile drived.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But something about Karzani's, I guess, hard shading is there's still like different qualities of texture, just like in the other paintings. It's different types of it. So like the clouds, it's kind of using this watercolory brush, kind of like White Diamond's used in her backgrounds. And then the sand actually looks kind of like sand. It looks like it has like a Photoshop like sand texture on it. Like it actually has like tangible texture. But then the characters are obviously that pure form of like cell shading. But there's on some of the characters, there's actually like a very slight gradient. So like there's this like use of solid like colors, but then there's like slight gradients on them.
It's very noticeable on Twilight.
Like yeah, on Twilight, so like her top of her is like lighter and then goes purple, and then Rarity's hair, you can see it pretty strongly too on the top of her. And let's see, like where else, it's like sometimes it's just really like hard to spot.
On Pinky,
in the sky a bit as well.
Yeah, there's a little bit on Pinky. It is very tricky to spot because it's so subtle, and it definitely adds to the piece. It adds to
I
the
like
characters.
it. I've done it once on one or two. Well, maybe I've done it one or two of my things, but I quite like it.
Like those slight gradients, like they don't, like when you're like searching around the piece. So like here's a good example on Rarity, on her her coat, I guess I was gonna say skin, and not quite right. But on her coat, if you look at the top of her head there, it's kind of like a cooler color blue, but if you look at the bottom of her neck, it's like a warm yellow. I'm trying to make sure I'm not hallucinating. It's just the colors around it.
No, that's right.
I could totally be hallucinating. I'm actually covering up everything else with my hand.
Her horn is minty.
And it almost looks like a thing. Well, I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about in the shadow, like in the shade.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, her horn's definitely like a minty color, but like just in the shade there. Anywho,
yeah, it is.
For when I look at Rarity's face, it looks like the top of her head is cool in the shadow and stuff, and the bottom of her neck is warm. But when I cover it up with my hand, it looks like the same value. So there's like, or same hue. I don't know, there's interesting things going on with like these slight gradients and colors next to each other that kind of create stuff to shift almost. Like even, hold on, like what did you, Fluttershy, what are you doing? I can't tell. I feel like again with Fluttershy, there's kind of like the top of her's lighter, and then as she goes down, she like gets a deeper yellow. I don't know, man. I'm tripping.
Yeah, it's interesting because he does combine these gradients and along with like I guess background color interactions. So it is very tricky to tell because, like you said, on Rarity, I do think that the gradient is there, that it's a cooler color at the top and a warmer color at the bottom. But it could very well be that there's just interactions with the background colors, and that compared to the dark purple in her mane at the top and like the lighter purple and the beach sand next to it.
Yeah.
Like
Is both.
Color theory, man.
Oh, also you probably totally mentioned, I just spaced it, but like how the characters are illustrated, like how they're drawn without lines, kind of like the style choice for that. Did you mention that?
I did not mention that, but it's good
like,
that you brought it up.
If you look at Karzani's work, it kind of started out, like, let me make sure, gallery, make sure I'm not talking out of my bum, but like, I remember when I first started seeing his work, it was like kind of more drawn, like illustrated, and then there were some like really, really detailed paintings, I believe. Yes. But there's like illustrated stuff with like outlines, and then the outlines started like going away, and then you started seeing artwork with like hardly any outlines. Yeah, so we used to do these really, really detailed paintings. Like I think we featured one way back in the day. And then like detailed paintings with like no outlines, and then there was like cartoony outline works. Here's the one. I really, really like this one. It's Apple Bloom, and Applejack. I'll link in this guide for you guys.
Beginner's apple bucking one.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I like
and so like it's this really detailed painting with like, but there's like a few outlines there, and so like this kind of like evolution of style. And then so in this one, that the realistic painting goes away. There's like, it's much lighter, happier, like no outlines. And then this is a redraw of another print that I guess was from a previous BronyCon maybe or something. I don't know, but his previous print, and it's illustrated like with outlines like drawn. So like his gallery is so diverse in the type of like styles that he uses. It's so cool. Like he has a bunch of really cartoony and like chibi stuff. And then there's like these paintings with no outlines and the really painterly ones that are fantastic that we knew him for when we first became bronies.
Yeah.
And then it's evolved in kind of this like really unique styles like this with like no outlines, and then really interesting things that he does with color. And then my favorite part, the yellow outline on the bottom of Pinkie Pie, is probably my favorite part in this piece in particular, to make her pop from the background and the sky there. I love it. I'm a sucker for it. What can I say?
I love those little...
Even Twilight's got it on.
I know.
So does Rarity.
And Rarity, yeah.
And
I love
Dash
those,
and Applejack
those...
and Fluttershy. They all do.
I love those little, those tiny little touches of lighting that some artists do, like Karzani in this piece.
I feel like it's supposed to be like reminiscent of reflective lighting from the sand, you know, like like when bright light like the sun, you'd see how bright it is in the background there, like hits something like sand or snow or whatever, it like emanates light.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would say more refracted lighting, because you got, I mean, I don't know how many people know that shading doesn't go to the edges of whatever you're shading. Like shadows and stuff don't go all the way to the edge if the light's behind it, because you get the light that bends around the object.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's what this is.
Yeah.
So a silhouette rather than like bouncing off the sand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or
it
like
could be.
how light in real life, light bends around stuff.
Yeah.
So that could be
due
what
to-
that is. It's refracted lighting from the back So you look at Pinkie, you got a lot of her is outlined by that yellow because the sun is almost directly behind her.
like the sun wrapping around her and stuff.
Yeah.
And this crazy line of yellow. Physics.
It could be both, actually. Because if you look at Twilight, for instance, like her bottom hoof, or her left hoof,
I think
has...
we're over-analyzing an artistic choice to outline the characters, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cutie Art Crusaders, overanalyzers. Yay!
Over-analyzing Horse Artwork 2014.
Yay! Yeah, I don't know. Like you were saying, Karzani's art style is definitely still evolving. And if you go and look in his gallery, like some of his newer stuff is a little bit more refined than this piece, and like he likes to play around and experiment with stuff.
What about his older style that we were discussing earlier?
Yeah. What about it?
It's pretty great.
Yeah. We talked a little
It's
about
good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
You weren't here. Where you left.
You were not supposed to break the fourth wall.
Never left.
He was always here, just like Rombilius Plasmington, the third.
Oh, what's this?
No, but I also, something about this piece that I really like is how Karzani did the water, and that it's just kind of layers of blue, different shades of blue. Again with a hard cut, but there's like, it looks like there's some gradients going on in there too. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Good stuff.
Cool. So I think that basically sums up the art for this episode.
Yeah.
Do we want to move into the questions?
We want to do that? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I have 2, possibly 3, depending on time, questions. Right. First one that I've got here is by a name we haven't heard for a while, Iala Wolf.
Yay!
You wake up and find yourself to be a princess or prince of Equestria. What changes do you decree to the land you now rule?
This could be devious.
I know what Rainbow players would say. Everyone has to walk around with an exposed button.
They already do that.
That escalated quickly.
Ponies don't wear clothes, except for Rarity.
They all wear saddles every now and then. And dresses.
Yeah.
And horseshoes and booties and scarves
Yeah.
Booties.
and hats.
Good lord, I don't know. Do you have an answer?
Yes.
Okay, go for it. I'll think of something.
Yeah. You gonna go?
My
I wanna
answer.
go.
My answer
Answer?
would be nobody is allowed to touch the ground. Ever. So
So they
Pegasus
have
are
to
fine
wear-
because they can fly.
So they have to wear thongs or shoes or something?
No. As in you can't be on the ground.
Oh, so you just hate everyone
Unicorns
who's...
can use magic to levitate themselves. Earth ponies would have to ride out of the Pegasus or the unicorn.
That's horsist.
Yeah. What about Pinkie?
She can fly.
Yeah, Pinkie wouldn't have a problem. She's like, I just have to float everywhere. All right, I'll do this. This is my life now.
That's mine.
All right. Let's see. The first commandment of Burned would be that Burned is best pony.
Clearly.
And then the second commandment of Burned and Land, Burnedtopia, would be Burned is prettiest pony. I don't know.
I think.
Yeah, there you go.
I think.
And then rule number 3 is don't question the first 2 rules. Burnedtopia.
I think in Burnedtopia, every citizen needs to have a picture of your glorious mustache in their house.
Yes.
And they need to worship it. And yeah.
This is acceptable.
Let's see. If I was to become a prince of Equestria, I would demand cuddles 24/7 from ponies.
But then nobody would do it because it's a law.
Okay, I would ask for cuddles 24/7.
See, that one's better.
I would create the land of Cuddlington.
And it would all be cute and adorable and yeah.
So huggably soft.
Yay!
Everyone has to carry around down.
I would also go and find the changelings and see if I could help them out because their story kind of ended with them like getting thrown into the desert and I don't think they survived.
They're misunderstood people.
Yeah.
There's so much power to be tapped into, am I right?
Yeah, exactly. They feed off of love. Love is like such a renewable resource.
Did you say WoW?
Love, yes.
You said WoW.
No, I said love, but we can go with love.
With W's.
Yeah. No, but think about this. Like, if we created Cuddlington, right? There's a lot of love going around there. And then the changelings could, like, create energy from that love, and it'd be renewable energy. Like a...
Perpetual energy.
Yeah, a perpetual motion machine kind of thing. Oh, okay. I got this all figured out.
Fan fiction, ho!
Yay! Someone write it, please. We don't know how to write. Yeah. Next question.
Next question is by Otaku AP. If you were to be remembered in a statue, how would you want the statue to be designed?
Glorious.
Gloriously.
I would have what is it? I would have Assassin Monkey probably paint what would be the bust of my glorious statue. Mm-hmm. And it would have a very majestic mustache, perhaps a monocle.
I think Assassin Monkey, I think you need to actually paint a portrait of Burned in all its majesty. You know, if you don't mind.
No, if it's not too much trouble,
yeah.
Just take several hours to paint me. That would be great. Yeah. Thanks. Even though he's already drawn me as Gandalf, like...
I know.
That was pretty sweet.
That's right.
You know, I could always use more fancy paintings, Burn.
Like we said last week, you know, it's yeah, we need more Burn. I was originally going to go with a take on a Rooster Teeth animated adventure / podcast thing where Bernie Burns, for those of you who watch Rooster Teeth, wanted to get a statue of him holding a platypus under one arm and a can of Foster's beer in the other arm. And I guess that would be a good way to go, you know, to be remembered.
But you're not from Australia.
No. So I guess in that case, I'll hold... Yeah, the platypus is still pretty cool. I'll hold the platypus under one arm. and I'll go with a can of Guinness. Just because, yeah.
Fair enough. But you're not Irish either.
Don't tell me what I'm not.
You don't know me. You don't control my life.
I had an idea, but you just gave me a better one. I want my statue to be interactive, so I'm gonna be a bobblehead. I'm gonna be a golden bobblehead, and it's gonna be, I don't know, me covered in Christmas lights or something.
Yes.
Should be a tradition in Atmoland, like on the holiday, like everyone goes and like sings
Bobs the
ridiculous songs while they bobble your head. Yeah.
Back and forth.
It's a good luck thing.
There was much rejoicing.
Yeah.
I think we should get CAC bobbleheads.
I think we should. That'd be cool. I would be pro this.
Yeah. Now we just have to find a bobblehead artist.
Okay, well, yeah. I'm pretty sure they were around.
Yeah.
Well, we got plenty of time. Do you want to do another question?
Yeah, let's do a third question.
All right, so this one, by Mummified Thunderbirds, is, with the holiday season approaching, just been, what is your favorite holiday Christmas movie, song, story, activity, or tradition?
Ooh.
Oh, God.
Well, we have a tradition in my family on Christmas.
Is it the pickle tree?
No, it's not the pickle tree. Although, funny story, I was in the chat and people said that they actually did that.
They've heard of the Christmas pickle?
Yeah, they've heard of it and they've done it in the past. And I was quite amazed because I had never heard of it until my coworkers talked about it. But no, on Christmas Eve, for the past 25 years of my life, yeah, my mom and sister and I will sit kind of around our Christmas tree and we'll read "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" on Christmas Eve, and it's kind of stuck with me as a tradition, and it's nice.
Sounds weird.
Yeah.
I'm judging you. Judging is super hard.
No, it's because our Christmas tree's in our family room, so we'll sit on the couch and we'll just read.
I could see that as being like really sweet, especially like when you have kids or something. But how long you been doing that?
Yeah, well, it was sweet when we were younger, and now it's just kind of evolved into a tradition, and it's
Just
just
stuck
like,
with it.
Tradition
I can see that.
burned.
yeah,
We've never had a tradition like that. It was always just like family gets together, and it's just like it's an excuse to see family on holidays, kind of thing.
yeah.
So what's yours, Bernd? What's your tradition?
Randomly, well, we don't have a tradition, but something that was interesting that my dad did was there's this Prince Ruprecht, something like that. I don't know, but there's this story of this dude who follows around Santa in Germany. So it's a German poem, and it's a poem about basically Santa's helper who follows Santa around and like basically whips the bad children with like a switch. So yeah, German stories for you, everybody. So like basically, like, what is it? Germans put their shoes outside of their door or something, and then like Santa fills the good kids' shoes or boots with candy, and then his friend, like Prince Ruprecht or Knicht or something or other, like whips the bad children with like a switch thing, and like they're friends, and they go and do like Christmas adventures. Anyway, there's this German poem, and my dad like translated it in like his own way, so translated it himself into English, and then read it on Christmas. So which was interesting. Like he'd never done that before, so like we actually did read some kind of poem. He was all pleased with himself because he translated the whole thing. It was like 5 verses.
Cool.
I mean, Son and Blitz can correct me with that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Judging you super hard, Bernd.
Yeah, it was weird.
Joel?
Oh, mine? Mine is, our tradition is we always get together for like brunch, breakfast, lunch, crossover, and eat a heck of a lot of seafood.
Ooh,
It's great.
that sounds
Because,
really
you know,
good.
it's hot, so we have a barbecue and seafood and stuff.
Oh,
And champagne and
Summer
breakfast
and all
time.
that.
And, yeah.
You're surrounded by ocean.
Yeah, pretty much.
see, if we tried to do that, we would just freeze.
We'd have
Because-
prawns and smoked salmon and fish and stuff. Turkey. No, we did have turkey this year. We had turkey the next day.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've still got some turkey in
Okay.
the fridge.
Also,
eat
the
it.
thing I was talking about was Knecht Ruprecht.
Ah,
Is basically Santa's little helper and whips the bad children. Anyway, don't care. Moving on.
Yeah.
We're done.
all right. So
done.
plug time.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll do it now. Okay. So DeviantArt, cutieartcrusaders.deviantart.com. Tumblr is the same, .tumblr.com. cutieartcrusaders.tumblr.com for those who didn't get that. Gmail, cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com. Twitter, @cutieartcrusade. Facebook, we're on there. YouTube.com/cutieartcrusaders, I think. And the other one is Picado, but that's a weird, long, confusing URL. Don't bother to click the link underneath here.
Look in the YouTube description.
Do it.
Yeah, that. And that's it.
Yep. So once again, we're going to be streaming this episode on Everfree Network's live stream and also on Picardo. But then next week we are only on Picardo, so go and follow us there. Also follow us on DeviantArt so that you can get our journals, because we will tell you that there next week that we will only be on Picardo. And then who knows? Yeah, you can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. But who knows what we'll be doing after that. We might be on Picardo for a couple of weeks and then we'll see. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was wintry, kind of. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. Max will be back next week, thankfully, because I don't know how to end these things or begin these things.
Love you all the same. Bye.
Thank you guys for watching, whether or not you're in the live stream or on YouTube. We love you all the same. My name is Flutterguy317.
My name's Brandon.
And I'm at Mosspark.
And we'll see you.
My name's Max.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.